Hey guys, welcome to another Sam Limon tutorial. This time we're going to be working on our Portfolio Builders assignment, Independent Magazine Cover Spread. So this project follows our book assignment number 2, our car magazine cover. So we're essentially going to do something similar, however we are going to build the spine and the back as well. So if you have taken a look on our project list, we're going to be building a magazine that is going to be 12 inches tall by 8.5 inches wide. So that's going to be both of our covers, and we are going to have a 1/4 inch spine where we could put our title and things like that. So first we're going to start off with thinking of a topic of your choice. So whether it be, sports, animals, food, whatever, then you could go ahead and start bringing in images and start putting it together. Again, do a little bit of research, and I'll show you guys a few samples in class. So what I am going to put up on Schoology is our template. So I'm just going to go into my folder. This is assuming you've downloaded it already, or if you haven't, go ahead and look for this one, the Independent Magazine Cover Spread Template. So that's going to be our file, and then go ahead and unzip it and go ahead and open this one in Photoshop. So right away you see I already pre-built the template. Usually when you build a magazine like this, or anything for that matter, you're gonna have a template given to you. Sometimes you might have to set it up yourself, but usually you're given the template. So let's see what we have here. I just did some simple guides for our kind of our folding lines and our trim lines. So if we turn those off by doing Command or Control semicolon, we could see the black is going to be our trim, and the blue is going to be our safety. So no important information past those blue lines. And we could turn these off. This is going to be our trim and folds. And then we're also going to have our live guides, and we could turn those off. So at the end, we're just going to turn both of these off, and then we'll turn it in that way when you turn in your JPEG. And then when you build, make sure you put anything that's in the front. Go ahead and build it in this front folder. Your spine should obviously, anything in there should be in the spine folder, and anything in the back goes in our back folder. The way you could tell that is in that folder, it's because, let's say I open it, I have nothing in there. So if I add a layer, it's going to put it in there. I could tell because it's indented here. If this layer, I'm going to drag it out here. Now that layer is on the same level as these folders. However, now if I drag it into any of these folders, I could tell because the whole layer gets highlighted, it's going to put it into my back folder. Since it's not expanded, once I expand it, I could see it's indented and it's in there. So that's the simple thing with that. So again, let's think of a theme. I'm gonna think of let's see, let's go with animals. Let's go with wilderness animals, elk, deer, things like that. So I'm gonna do a wilderness poster. So let me go ahead and start gathering images. Before that, let's go ahead and name our file. So instead of template, go to File, Save As, and we're gonna remove the template name. And go ahead and put your name. And then I'm going to go to my Finder. I should also add I didn't set up a proper folder for this job, so I'm going to do that now. Before I move this file, let me go ahead and close it. And let's go in here, and I'm going to make a new folder. And I'm going to name this magazine cover spread, or Independent Magazine Cover Spread. And I'm going to take all of these files. Don't know why it's acting weird there. So basically all of these, my zip file, which I no longer need, but I still have it, the template. I have my original files, and then the one that I'm going to be working on. And then I'm going to take that in there. So now I have a dedicated folder. Within that folder, I guess I could do an images folder. And that way I can start saving my images in there. And let me go ahead and open up my working file, which is going to be the one with my name. I'm going to open that one up again. Let me go into my images folder. So again, I could go to open up a web browser. And I'm going to use a mixture of Google. So I'm going to open all these up. So I'm going to use Google for one of them. I'm going to use unsplash.com for another. And I'm going to do Pexels. So I suggest you take a look at some magazines. I should have some in class, so I'll put those out if you guys are interested in looking at them, just for a little bit of inspiration or see how things are done. And they'll explain it, here as well. So first things first, I'm gonna, let's see what cool images I could find here. So let me look for a bear, for example. And I kind of like this one. So I'm going to download this. I kind of like this one as well. Download that one. Let's go ahead and download this one. And then let's just, to try a different site, let's look for elk here. That's a nice one. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and look for forest. Or you know what, I'm already thinking in the back, maybe we could do like an advertisement for one of those like Polaris. Let's see if we find that. This might be a Google search. Actually there, we could do like an ad for a quad or something, so that's a cool one. Let's look for nature photography maybe. That's a cool picture. Let me copy this search and bring it into this one, into Pexel, into Unsplash. There's a lot of great shots. Let's do some camping. Look for camping on this one. Maybe some hiking ones. Okay, great. So now we have some pictures. Let's go ahead and go to Google just to remind you how to look for some of these things again. So let's look for hiking forest or something. And I misspelled forest. And let's go ahead and look for images. So I want to narrow down my search. So again, I want to go to tools, size, and I want to make sure that I only download large photos. So let's see. This one's pretty cool. So let me right click and then open link in the tab. See what I find. Right click, open image in new tab. That's a pretty good one. So let's go save, right click, save image as. At this point, let's go into our images folder, but make sure we're in the right folder. So it's going to be our independent magazine cover spread. Save this one there. want to make sure that I have images that are roughly 1,000 by 1,000 or bigger. So obviously it's 3,000 by 2,000. It's pretty good. Yeah, this one's not really that big. Maybe the full version is, but if I right click, then it's only please be respectful of copyright. Unauthorized use is prohibited. So it kind of like prevents us from getting the full image. So we'll go ahead and skip that one. I like this one with the backpacker. Open image in a new tab. Perfect. This one's pretty cool. Right click, save image as. Save it there. So now we have a couple from Google. Let me close all this down. Now the fun part, we downloaded all those images. So let's go into our downloads folder, and I'm going to look for all of these. So they all say Unsplash at the end, or all these have some numbers. So, or they say pixels in the beginning. So these are all going to be mine. And there's one more. So okay, so I got like quite a few images. Might not use them all, but you know, this is a good start for me to start thinking of my poster. So a sketch always helps before, you know, you could do a sketch, and actually let's do that now. So I'm just gonna make a new layer on top of my front. So I'm gonna drag this one up here, and I'm gonna get my brush, make sure my opacity is 100%, and I'm gonna go ahead and make a small brush. So I'm gonna put my title here. I know there was an image with the bear like on a black background, so I know that's the one I want to use for like my main image. I thought this one was pretty cool. So here's gonna be the bear, and then maybe I could have like some features down the side over here, and then maybe like an inset here, so like an image of something, and then another title here, and then maybe like another part of the book here, and then on the back maybe I could have the image of like the person in the quad, so maybe like a headline here, and then the person in that motorcycle. The wheels, kind of funky, but you get the idea. And then maybe like the whole ad right there, and then maybe a couple mini ads or something down here, a couple images. This could always change, and then maybe I could put like a barcode. Maybe this could move to the left, and then I could put a barcode here. So we'll go ahead and put in a barcode. So maybe something like that. Maybe I could add another inset here to offset this one. So this will be another image. So yeah, something like that. And I'm gonna name this layer sketch. Now I'm not gonna follow this exactly, but it gives me an idea of how to start. So let me go ahead and bring in that first image, that bear. So let me bring that one in. So let's go to File, Open in Photoshop. And I'm gonna look for my magazine cover spread, go to images, and let's look for that bear. Click open, and I'm gonna name this black BG for black background bear, or big bear face. Just something that tells me what it is. And I'm gonna go ahead and drag this one in here. I'm gonna drag that one into my front layer, and I'm gonna resize it. I want it to take up the whole space. So you want to make sure your artwork goes past your bleed. So you don't want to leave a little space like this at the bottom. Make sure you go all the way. And since I'm using one solid image, this is good for me. You could also build a scene like we've been doing with certain of our other things. We could do, you know, kind of like a collage, blend things. It just depends what you want your magazine to look like. And let me turn off my sketch for now. And let's see, on this image, I think I want to push the blacks. The blacks don't look that dark, so if I turn this on, I could still see some of this black, and I'm like, this could look a lot richer. So I'm going to increase the contrast on this image. So with the big bear face, I could, there's two ways I could do it. So I could go to image, adjustments, brightness and contrast, and let's say I'm going to increase the brightness, increase the contrast. So that's going to make it look a lot richer. So I could undo that. And let me show you how else I could do it. I could go into an adjustment layer, which would be down here in this yin yang looking sign. And this is the better way to do it because again, these are non-destructive. So this time I also have brightness and contrast. And I'm going to increase the brightness just a little bit. And I'm going to push the contrast quite a bit. Now the beauty of this is I could turn that off and on at any time, so that looks pretty nice. Now I only want it to affect the big bear face, so I'm going to right click on it and then I'm going to do create clipping mask. That way it only affects this. Once I start putting other layers in here, this brightening and contrast is not going to affect any of the other ones. Now within the front folder, we also want a title. So I'm going to name this, I don't know what I'm going to name it, but I'm going to click on my type tool. And I'm going to choose a font. Choose a font that you like. For now I'm going to choose, I do like Avenir, so I'm going to click that. Black, so that's going to be like a bolder one. And let me do a small font for now. So I'm going to do like 30-ish. And I'm going to make sure my color is white just so I could see it against the black. So your color might be different. So I'm just going to click once. And I'm going to name this Into the Wild. So it's going to be Into the Wild magazine. And I'm going to create a little title treatment here. So let's see how I could configure this. So maybe the wild into the, I'll leave it like this, and I'm going to create another block of text. So I'm going to click on my type tool. This one I'm thinking about like well, before I do that, I want to make sure I'm not clicked on that. I'm not click on this layer into the, because I was changing the font on that. So I want to click on my type tool, and I'm going to do a new one. So in this one I'm going to make wild in like a more of a cursive font. So let's try this one, and I'm going to click and type wild, and let's triple click or double click, and let's make this a lot bigger. And let's see, something like this. Click on my type tool and select it, and I'm going to just see if there's a different font that I might like. On this computer I don't have a whole lot of fonts installed, so one thing you could do is you could go and you could search for a font maybe. Kind of like that. Let's see if there's a bold. There is no bold for this one. So on your machine you could probably go to like some of those font size and you could search for something that kind of you know, looks like something you would want to use. I don't think this one's the best, but I do like the little jaggedness of it. Let's keep looking. And actually, let's go to a font page. So let's go ahead and open up a browser page, and we could look for free fonts. One of these pages is thefont.com. Try it out. We'll see if it works in school, because I know some pages are blocked. Another one that I know is Font Scroll. PBA-Independent.com. So you should be able to download fonts there. And this one looks pretty cool. So if it doesn't end up working on the page, just do a Google search, and there's several of these where you could find like free fonts. And hopefully one of them will be able to, you know, open up and load onto our school computers. I'm liking this one right now, so let me give this one a test run. Apparently it's unavailable at the moment, so might come back to it. For the time being, yeah, I guess you could search for, you know, any of the free fonts. I'm just gonna go back to something that I had tried, my original one, which was this one, and let's stick with that one. One thing that I could do is I could close this W and the I a little bit, and I do that by putting my cursor in between both, and if I hold Option or Alt and I use my right or left key, I could tighten up that space ever so slightly. That way this negative space you know, wasn't so wide, and that is part of my kerning. So just trying to make the letters look a little bit nicer. We always kern titles or headlines or anything big like that. And so I'm going to copy that into drag this layer onto a new layer, drag this one down, and I'm just going to say magazine. And I'm going to change this font actually to a maybe light. So into I'm liking that lockup. I'm going to select both of these into the wild, do Command T, and I'm going to size it up pretty big. And I'm going to go ahead and center it. I could turn on my guides. I did not set up a center guide, so one way we could do a center guide is I'm going to click on M, so I could select my marquee, my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to click from this guide, which is our fold, to this guide, which is our trim, and then that's going to give me the whole selection for the front, and it should snap into place. Now if I drag a guide from the left to the right, it should snap into the center of that, and then I could deselect. So go to select, deselect. Now let's do Command T with both into the wild on these layers, and what do you know, I actually had it right in the center. So I could bring this up, I could take it as far up as that blue line right there, and I'm gonna bump it down just a little bit. And I'm just clicking with my arrow keys, or I could click and drag, hit return, and then the magazine part, I'm gonna click on my type tool, I'm gonna triple click within it, and then I'm gonna change this size to maybe like let's try 18, and I'm gonna set it somewhere here. That way it's not so prominent. I'm gonna zoom in, and maybe I'll do a little bit of kerning there too. Let's see what needs it. Click on my type tool, put my cursor in here, and I'm looking at the space between the MAG, so I want to make sure the space between these two looks visually about the same. And then I'll look at the AGA, maybe this space is a little bit more than this one, so I'll use the Option or Alt, and then I'll use my left arrow key, so that bumped it up, made it closer just ever so slightly. Yeah, I'll open this one. I always try to look at 3 letters at a time, and then if I see the space between the I and the N and the N and the N and the E looks a little bit bigger, so I'm going to close that one as well. If I use my right key, I'll be opening it, so I don't want to do that. And this is all like, there's no right or wrong, it's just kind of, you know, what feels right. So I'm going to say that looks good, put it right here. So that gives me a cool little lockup of our title. Now maybe I should leave this just to add a different color to it, maybe magazine, to tone it down a little. I'm going to click on my type tool again, and I'm going to select it all, and then instead of white, I'm going to make it like a little bit of gray, so maybe something like that. And I'm going to click OK, And then into the wild, I'm gonna put my cursor there, click on my type tool, select these, and let's see. Maybe I want to do like a creamish color, something that's just a little bit off white. A little more on the orange side, something like that. And click OK. So there we go. That's going to be our lockup. And so now we have a title, we have a main image, and then we could start bringing in some some more image or type right here. So let's go ahead and save it. This is a good time to save. Let's close this. And then next we'll let's not save that one. And let me turn off my guide. So do Command or Control and then semicolon. And then we'll start thinking about what to put next around here following our sketch right here. I'm going to think of a couple headlines to set here. So I'm going to start thinking about formatting. So maybe like the headline and then like a little sub paragraph, just like we did in our sketch. And then, you know what, let me make this another color. So if I right click on this, since my background is dark, I can make my sketch a different color. So I could double click here on my layer panel just to the right of this layer, and I'm going to give it a color overlay, and I'm going to choose yellow just so that I know what it is. I could see it here now. And I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity something close to 50%. Okay, so that's my basic structure. Again, I don't have to follow it exactly per se, but you know, it gives me something. So I'm going to go back in here, and I could group these three together, the magazine into the wild. Hold shift and click on that one, and then if I click on my little folder icon here, it could group them. And I'm just going to name this title. And that way I could start, you know, cleaning up my layers panel, make it not look so busy. Okay, so let's see, maybe at this point I could go ahead and add another folder, another group, and I'm gonna name this headlines or features or something like that. So this one's gonna be headlines, and I could start thinking about formatting this. So I'm gonna click here, click once, and it's gonna give me the settings that I have up here in my options bar. So the main thing I want to change right now is the color. Let's change it to something bright that would stand out in front of black. And I'm going to set it here. Click on my type tool again. Triple click that. Remember, triple click selects a whole sentence, or you know, a few words, whatever you have. Double clicking only selects just a word. So I'm gonna triple click, and I'll think of a clever name for this part of the article, so, or this part of the magazine. So this one could be majestic brown bears. And I'm gonna triple click it again, and let's left align this one since it is on this left hand side. So I'm gonna bring it over here. So I have to be on my move tool to be able to make it, to be able to move it, and then I have to be on my type tool to be able to select it and edit it. So I'm going to change this to Avenir. I'm actually going to change it to a different font. That way we don't have the same font as the title. So let's use one of our ATC fonts. So I'm going to use ATC Garnet, and I'm going to do Ultra. And let's make it a little bit bigger in size, maybe 24. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to break this down. So I'm going to put my cursor right before the B in brown, do backspace, and then hit return or enter. So now if you notice, we have a whole lot of leading right there between these. Yours might be tighter. So what I want to do is put my cursor somewhere there, do Command A to select everything, and then I want to open up my my character panel. So let's open up our characters panel. If you can't find it, it's under Window, Characters, and I see my leading here is under 90, it's a 91 points. So let's go ahead and do auto, and maybe we want to tighten it up a little. So let's see, maybe about 16. Let's see what that does. A little too much. 18. Let's just type in 20. And there, I like that. So we could have that there. And let's put in another one. So this could be, I'm going to change this to ATC Garnet. Or you know what, let's look for a serif font for this one. So let's just go with the ATC fonts, ATC Pyrite. That looks pretty good, and let's change this to white. And I'm going to talk about the majestic brown bears. We could say brown bears are spotted more frequently by hikers as temperatures rise. And then I could go ahead and make this a little bit smaller. So I could go ahead and make that like a maybe 18 point size. And again, work with your leading. This one I'm going to say looks pretty good. So now I'm going to left align it here. So I want to make sure this is aligned with that. Maybe bring it down just a little bit. And at this point, I think I could make my majestic brown bears title a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go into my layers panel. And I'm going to click T for my type tool, and then just put my cursor in here, do Command A for everything. And I'm going to do, let's try 30, and then let's increase our leading. So the quick command to increase leading is, once I have everything selected, I could hold Option or Alt and click down, and it will space it down this way. And I could increase the tracking by clicking the right or left arrows. So I'm going to increase the tracking ever so slightly. Again, there are all here under our characters panel. This is going to be our tracking. No, sorry, this is our tracking. This is our kerning. So our tracking right now is at 40. If I do the Option or Alt and right click, you see this changing. So 60, 80, 100. And then we could see our leading changing as well. If I click down, it's going to give me more space there. 31. Let's go back to, I like 26. And then let's close it up a bit. 40. And I'm going to call that good. So there's one of them. And let's go ahead and turn off our sketch. And maybe this could be bumped down just a little bit. Let me see if we go to medium. There we go. I think that looks a little bit better. And then we'll make a couple more of those, and we will we'll move on to our spine and then the back. So here we go. So I'm going to copy essentially these two. So I'm going to grab these two first, and then I'm going to make a folder for them. So this is my title, Majestic Brown Bears, and the little blurb underneath. I'm going to make a new folder. Drag that out of headlines. Or you know what, actually, yeah, I forgot we had already made that group. So within headlines, we could bring that one in, and then this one could be Majestic Brown Bears. And then I could go ahead and drag this one and make a copy of it. And now we could move this folder, this whole layer group, and we could make another one down here. And we'll give it another name. So make sure you line things up. Click on my type tool. And now maybe we could bring in one of those images from, I know they had a tent image at night. You could bring this one in here. So it is Pexels, Pixabay 45241. So I'm going to go File, Open. Here it is, 45241. Go ahead and open it. And I'm going to just go ahead and bring this in without masking. So bring that one in. And maybe I want to flip it horizontally. So I'm going to do Command T to transform it, right click, and then flip horizontal. That way it's coming in from this side. And I'm going to go ahead and make it smaller. I think that'll look pretty cool. And then I'm going to drag it underneath here, underneath all this type, but above the big bear face. And I'm going to name this tent. Create a layer mask. And then use my black brush. So push that up. And I could just start masking these edges. And just for a smoother blend, I could go drop down to about anywhere between 10 and 20. And just start brushing this area here. Can't notice it too much, but in print it will show if this black is different than this black, which it is. So we just want to make a smooth blend there. And then so I notice my type is overlapping here. So I'm going to just go ahead and move all my headlines up for the moment. And there we go. I'm not really liking the red here for the headline, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. Click on my type tool. And you know what? Maybe I will sample that into the... So I'm going to click on here, copy this color, so the hashtag, the F3E0B4, Command C or Control C to copy it. And then now I could select all these and change that in here as well. So I could do Command V or Control V to paste. And there we go. Now it's not so bright and in your face. That's starting to look like something. Well, let's see our sketch, see what we had. We had a couple more here, an inset here, so we could do an inset, and just some headlines here. So let's see what we could do with that. Let's bring this one in. Go to File, Open. Open up that rhinestone image. Go ahead and open it. Bring this one in. And that one's kind of taking up the whole space, so let's go ahead and first of all make sure we're in our layer down here. Close up my headlines, close up my title. And I'm going to rename this Lake with Pine Trees. Just something so that you know what it is. And I'm going to do Command T, and I'm going to resize it up here. So it is going to be an inset. Actually, before I resize it, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to turn it off. And let's go ahead and create a little container for it. That way we could clip it onto it. So let's go ahead and go into our rectangle tool. Our fill doesn't matter, but just so it shows, I'm going to click on white for fill. And then our stroke, I'm going to use this recently used color, which is this one. That way we have something that keeps repeating. And let's do maybe 10 pixels. We could always come back and change that. I'm going to do no radius on the corners, and I'm just going to click and drag somewhere right here. I don't want to go into the bear's eye. I'm going to call that good and hit return to accept the change. And then I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to put the lake above that one, and then I'm gonna turn it on. I could either right click on the lake with the pine trees and create clipping mask, so that way it clips it to that shape, or I'm gonna undo this, or I could just simply hold Alt or Option and put my cursor right in the middle of these two and see how my cursor changes. Click on that, and that clips it as well. And now I can resize it. So Command T, and then I'm gonna make it small, click and drag anywhere here, bring it in. Since I am going to be talking about the lake, I think I want a little bit of the lake to show, so maybe right there. I'm going to make this inset a little taller now that I'm looking at it. So hit return. Now I can click on my actual inset holder, and now if I do Command T, hold Shift, and I could drag this down, and I can see a little bit more of that lake. So I'm going to go ahead and do something like that. And now we could bring in another headline. So I could open up my headlines, and I could copy, well, this one I should have renamed it. So I could rename this one new camping gear. So the majestic brown bears, I'm going to go ahead and copy this folder, drag it in there. Just to keep things organized, I'm going to move it up here. And I'm going to rename this lake. And I'm going to move it to the right. So now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and click on this majestic brown bears. With my type tool, select everything, and I'm going to make it right aligned because it is going to be on the right hand side. And I'm going to click on my type tool again, or just hit T, that automatically takes you there. Click on this paragraph, do Command A to select everything, and then right align it as well. So now I could take this whole lake folder and move it to the right. And now we could talk about something with the lake. So we gotta make sure we are nice and aligned here. So I'm gonna bump this all the way to the edge of that blue line. And I'm going to make sure to bump in that rectangle here. I'm going to name it first, lake holder. So that's my holding device. And then with my move tool, I'm just going to click on the right arrow a couple times, and that'll move that. Notice how it just moved this. It did not move the, it moved the holder, not the lake image. If I wanted to move everything together, I would have to hold Shift, select this one, and now I could move everything together. So I knew there was still space here, so I can move it to the right without losing anything. And now we could go in and type something about the lake. So I'm going to select all of this and make sure it's right aligned again, and then bring it in. So this is going to force you to get a little creative with writing as well as design. Sometimes you do have the freedom to do this. Sometimes all this information is provided for you. So it's good that we play around with a little bit of both. Well, now I'm seeing my bear is a little blocked here. That's okay. I could always try to go ahead and move him a little to the left. Originally I wanted him nice and centered, but I could always tweak it a little bit just so we have a little bit more visibility here. And let's see what else we could do. Actually, what I'm thinking, it might start looking a little too cluttered, so I'm gonna bring this, I'm gonna fill this space down here because I have a lot of negative space here, and I'm gonna make the bear bigger in this area. So complete change of design, but this is our project, so we could do as we wish, and we don't have no guidelines other than these that I gave you. So I'm gonna bring this down here, maybe stack it up on 2 lines. I'm gonna, yeah, I'll keep it right aligned for now. Like this one. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Hold shift. I'm going to make it about the width of this headline right here. There we go. Now I'm going to make this lake image a little bit bigger. So there we go, something like that. And I'm going to go ahead and make the bear face a little bit bigger. And there we go. So this would be our front cover. Now we could have a spine color. So for my spine color, let's go ahead and do, just to tie in some colors, I'm going to bring in the beige from here. I'm going to copy this one again. And then I'm going to, let's go ahead and close in our front, or let's close all of these down. And in our spine, let's open that. And I'm going to do a solid color fill. So in order to do that, we have to go down to our adjustment layers and click on solid color. And then we could choose a color. So you see we could choose a red, whatever color it may be. Let's go ahead and highlight this, and let's go ahead and paste our beige color that we chose. And one thing I'm noticing here is our magazine doesn't read anymore. So we could either change the color of magazine, or we could make like a little darkening there. So I'm actually going to do that. So I'm going to go in. So see, sometimes by moving things, you create another problem. So then you have to go back and fix that. So if we go right above our big bear face and right above that adjustment layer that we did, let's go ahead and create a new layer, and let's name this darkening for title. And then we want to get a brush and make sure it's black, and yeah, something about 10%, and we could just start brushing this with the dark color, and this way it looks natural, and that becomes a little bit more legible. And the reason why we do this as a separate layer is so that, for example, some files might go to like a different country and they might need to change the title. This image might be repurposed for something else, so you would want the image to be by itself without any major adjustments, and then that way other adjustments could be made if needed. For example, if we would have done this on this big bare face layer, it would have already had a burnt in dark spot here, and there's no way to pretty much fix that without, you know, a lot of major work to it. So this way it's just a simple, turn that off, and then you could work with the image as a whole. So now we're going to create a horizontal version of this title, due to the fact that we have a very thin strip. It's only 1/4 of an inch thick for our spine. So we're gonna go ahead and copy our title, and I'm gonna work on it right here. So what I know is I have a set height, so this is gonna be sideways, so I don't have that much to work with. So I'm gonna set up a horizontal version here. So this one's gonna be gonna name it spine title, and I'm gonna work on it here, and then I'll drag it into my spine layer. So maybe I'll set it something like that. I'm gonna make wild a little bit smaller. And then magazine. Maybe this one I could make a little bit bigger to match the height of into the. So Command T, and then I could just resize this. So I'm trying to trying to match the height of this actually. And there we go, that's gonna be close enough, and I'm gonna drag this to the right. And so now it's kind of centered, while it's kind of centered within there. So now I want to keep these, the color, like for example, this would be the official colors of the title, or maybe it changes per issue, but I want to keep these original ones. However, I do want to colorize it due to the fact that it's going on this light color, so this is all going to be really hard to see, especially into it's going to be the same color as this, so that would pretty much make it invisible. A good color to stand out against that would be black, so let's go ahead and change that to black. The good thing about now is we have our spine title, so we could apply that effect to the whole color, so just right to the whole layer. So we could just double click here, do a color overlay, and let's choose black. When you do that, make sure you don't just click on the check mark, the checkbox over color overlay. Make sure you actually click on it, that way you enter this. If you just click it, it's going to turn it on, but then these are not going to show up. Okay, so now we could bring this into our spine. So drag it into that folder, so now we can't see it because it's technically hidden due to these masks. So I could click and drag it to the left if I'm on my move tool, and at some point it will show up. So there it is. So I'm going to do Command T to resize it, rotate it. If I hold Shift, it's going to snap it to 90 degrees. And let's go ahead and resize it again. And right here we could see where it's at, so we could start bringing it in right here. We could zoom in. So right here, since wild was the bigger word, we're gonna have to try to match it to those blue lines where wild goes there. If you have like little bits over here poking out, that's okay, you know, there's usually fine with that, but you don't want to, you know, go way past everything. So maybe I'll make it there. And now it's up to you whether you want to make this centered at the top. I'm gonna, let's see, I think I want to make it centered. So just to show you how to create that centered, create a center line. So I'm gonna turn on my guide so I could do Command or Control semicolon. Now remember, we set up this center guide, so let's set up this horizontal center guide. So I'm gonna click on my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm gonna click and drag from this top trim guide to the bottom trim guide. And now I could drag down a guide and it should snap right into place at my center. And so that's gonna carry out throughout all of this. So now I could go to select and deselect, or Command or Control D to deselect this selection. Now let's go back into our title, our spine title, Command T, and I'm gonna move it down here. And take it up to where these center points of this whole word, or this whole sentence, snaps right here. And go ahead and hit return. And now we have that centered. Another thing we could do is we could, you know, type out the volume or something down here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna copy that from this magazine word. So I'm gonna open this, make a copy of magazine, and drag that out of the folder because I don't want it in my spine title. And click on my move tool and bring that one down. So there it is, magazine. Since I dragged it out, it no longer has the black overlay effect on it. So I could leave it gray, it still reads. And I'm gonna put my cursor on this and highlight all of it. Now we're technically writing sideways. One thing we could do is we could click on we could go to our rotate view tool, and then we could just rotate the view here, put our cursor in it, and then that way we could work sideways without having to tilt our head. And I'm gonna type in let's say volume 2, and then let's say this is February 2023. And I could just take this to the very edge here. And now I could, if I just click on R, it'll take me to my rotate view, and then I could do the reset view. And there we have it. So there is our spine. So now let's think of our back. And we gotta put this at the top as well. So sometimes some magazines have that. Like I said, do some research, see what else you want to put on it. The spine usually doesn't have too much. And now we could start planning out the back. Well, actually, we could turn on our sketch and see what we had. So let's go ahead and bring in our person in the quad. So let's see which image that one was. Let's just go to File, Open. I do want to use one of these pictures as well, so. And I forgot the deer pictures, so we'll see. Like I said, we're not going to use all of them, but we'll try our best. Here it is. Let's open this one. Start closing these. We no longer need. I'm going to resize it. And I want a little bit of space at the top for a headline and our barcode. So one thing that I want to do is I want to mask this guy out. So I want to set it like in a different background. So I'm going to pull in one of those other backgrounds and set this there. So let's go ahead and turn off our sketch, and I'm going to go ahead and mask this. I turn off my guides for now and zoom in a little bit. So if you have any way to select, you could choose your favorite way. Again, you have your lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool. These probably won't work. Magnetic lasso tool might work for some of this, especially these high contrast edges, the black background to the white. Or here, we might lose it a little bit here with the tires, so you could always go back and change it. We could try our object selection tool. Let's see how well that does. If not, I might just go to my trusty pen tool. Yeah, see, it didn't do a great job here. So I'm gonna go ahead and deselect, and I'm gonna click on my pen tool. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that grass, just because I want to possibly blend that into something as well. I'm not gonna make a super critical selection, but something semi-decent. So I highly suggest that you guys practice with your pen tool for selection. It doesn't have to be something as complicated as this, but next time you're in Photoshop trying to mask something, just try it out. Doesn't hurt, and eventually it's one of those things where you could possibly be using it, so it's best to start getting used to it. Now I'm going to right click and make a selection. I'm going to leave 0 pixels for now and click OK. And now I'm going to apply the mask. If it ever does it the opposite way, you could just do Command or Control I, and that'll switch your mask. And I'm going to name this quad rider. Okay, so now let's go ahead and bring in another image. So go to File, Open. And I want one of those cool like night scene camping ones. That's a maybe. Maybe this one. Let's try this one out. And we'll see. This might not even work, but it's good to try it. And let's place him over here. I kind of like that. It's looking cool. Let's name this background. And one thing that I want to bring back is maybe a little bit of that grass down here. So I'm going to go into my quad rider, click on my brush tool, make sure I choose white because I want to show the grass underneath there, and I'm going to take my opacity to 100%. I can start bringing this in. And let's see, maybe my background, I want to make it a little bit darker so that he pops out a little bit more. And I purposely hid the people in the back, by placing the quad rider right here. So maybe we could do something like that. And now let me go ahead and fade out a little bit of this background. So I'm going to add a mask here, and I'm going to use my gradient tool with the black. So if you go into our basics, open this one and make sure I do either the white to transparent or black to transparent. Then I could just switch these and I could go from black to transparent or white to transparent. White is going to show, black is going to hide. So now if I just click up here, it's going to start. And I forgot I had done that. So just to get rid of that hard line. And then at some point we'll see what we create down here. I do want to make this image darker. So I could go in and go to my hue and saturation. Yeah, I'm going to make that darker. Go to my layers panel. I want to clip this only to my background. That way only affects that. That looks cool. That means he's showing up a little bit more. And maybe I could add another one. I could do a see, I do not have exposure. I could do my levels, and I could bring this left down just ever so slightly. So there we go. Now we have a couple layers just to make that background darker. So I could go back to my layers panel, clip this one as well. And so now we have both of these affecting only that background. So I can see the before and the after. So the quad writer is, he stands out a little bit more. And let's go ahead and, you know what, we didn't even need to mask this background, because I'm thinking I could just do like a white area down there. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete, not this mask, the mask for the background, delete it. Make sure you do delete, not apply. If you apply it, it's gonna apply the mask and it's gonna pretty much delete the pixels, so treat it as an eraser. So I'm gonna undo that, drag to delete the mask and click on delete. So it deletes the mask, so it brings back these pixels. Now what I'm gonna do over this is I'm gonna select my rectangle tool, and then I'm gonna do a fill of white and no stroke. And I'm just gonna zoom out, and I'm just gonna click and drag from like somewhere out here all the way across. And one thing that I'm noticing is, let's see, I've been working outside of my back layer, so I'm gonna click all these layers that I created here. I was wondering, because my spine is now covered, so I was wondering what happened there. I'm gonna drag all of these into my back folder, and there we go. So that looks correct. And so I have my rectangle here, that looks good. And I'm gonna take it up there. Okay, so now I can put some information there. So let's see, let's think of a quote up here to put. So I'm gonna type in my back layer, click on my type tool, and let's change fonts for this one. Let me try this, Anton, and I'm gonna choose red. I'm gonna sample a red from his Spurs and sweatshirt, click OK, and I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna say take your new quad on a night run. Command A, I'm gonna left align it, and I'm gonna up the size. And I'm gonna put it on 2 lines. Command A, go to my either characters panel and fix the leading there, or if I hold Option or Alt and use my up arrow key to get these a little tighter. And again, the size. And maybe white is a good one for this instead of that red. It'll pop a lot more. There we go. Undo, click on my type tool, and let's say outs on a night run. And let's move him just ever so slightly to the right. Or actually, I wonder if we can make him, we could put him over the type. And let's put our rectangle over everything. And I'm actually going to make the quad writer a little bit bigger. So something like that. It's always cool when somebody breaks up over the letters. And we still have our cool image. I'm going to bring this down a little bit just to show some of that grass right there. And I'm going to make him brighter. So I'm going to add an adjustment layer over him. Go to brightness and contrast. Before I do any of this, I have the option to clip it here. So let's go ahead and clip it there. And it's only going to affect him. So let's increase the contrast a little and the brightness as well. So now I could turn it off and on and see the difference. So now he pops a little bit more. And one thing I want to do is maybe add a light, a glow to this headlight. So I'm going to add a new layer on top of this. And I'm going to name this headlight. And I'm going to get my brush tool. And I'm going to paint with white. So first I'm going to do a small one here. Click there. Maybe it's going to be a series of them. So make this one a little bit bigger. So I could use my right or left brackets, because technically light dissipates like that. You know, headlight 2 or something. So it's already starting to look like a glow. So I can select both of these and I could test out my different blending modes. So light and screen are going to be some good ones. So maybe let's go ahead and choose lighten. And there we go. So we just added that headlight on. So we could always turn them off, turn them on. So now it looks like a light there. And then we could add some information here. So maybe we could add like only $3.99 a month or something. So let's click back over here. Click with our type tool. And we could say only, let's say $99 per month with 0% financing or something. And this one I'm going to make it smaller. Now this one I am going to select maybe one of his lighter parts of the red. And I could always drag this up here. And let's see, we could always do a different font as well. So maybe something like that. a copy of that. So we could drag down here, and we could say contact your nearest off cool. And I could always darken this area here as well, so this could pop a little bit more. So right above our background, we could create a new layer, and we could brush in some black. I could select my brush, add some black, and then maybe I could, you know, drop that down till about 10%, and we could just brush in a little bit here. Again, we always want to have this on a separate layer. And maybe this is too big, so I'm going to select this and make it a little smaller. And actually I like this font, so it's Anton. Let's do that for this one. That could be like a subheading for that. And then this could just be regular type. Let's make this white. And let's do maybe a 12-point size. Maybe it's a little too small, but and let's group these. So something like that. There we go. We built up back a little bit. And let's do the separate section. So now I think we're kind of ignoring our sketch. Well, somewhat, you know. We still have to get our barcode and maybe a couple insets down here. Okay, so to create a barcode, let's go into our web browser, and let's go to barcode-generator.org. And right here we have, it's free, and there's several different barcodes we could do. So our standard barcode is going to be the UPC-A, and they contain 12 digits. So usually you put in the first 11 and it generates the last one for you. So let's just make up some numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And let's see if it generates it with just 11. And there we go. So it added those numbers. So 075426, 075426, 84638, 84638, and it adds the last one. And let's go ahead and download this as an EPS file, and let's go ahead and do large, and then go ahead and download. So like it tells you, length fixed, we put the 11, it generates the last one. Categories for retail, warehousing, most popular. So we're just making up our own here, but if you ever have to make one, the vendor is going to send you like the information, and then you could generate it, and then you could download it. EPS is best as opposed to a JPEG. And go ahead and download it. So now that gave us the barcode.eps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it. So just to make this as real as possible, I'm going to highlight this number. And just remember that this added a 9 to it. So we'll remember to add a 9. So let's go into our downloads folder. And we're going to find our barcode.eps. We can see right here. And I'm going to type in Command or Control V to paste that, and then bring in our 9, and then we could put magazine barcode or something so that you know what it is. But usually in real life, because this will be provided to the printer as well, and we need to put the number on it. So I'm going to drag this out Let's see if I have. So in here with our images, I'll go ahead and drag it into our images folder. So now we have it there. So now let's go back into Photoshop and let's go ahead and go to File, Place, File Open. Actually, we could place Embedded. And let's put in our logo, our barcode. So I'm going to bring that up to the top of the stack, bring that in, and now I could resize it. And let's place it right there. So on this one, I didn't give you a template of where to put it. However, you know, some templates will automatically tell you here it is, so you could work your design around there. Right here, I'm kind of working the other way around, but I'm adding the barcode there. I could add it to the bottom, some have it in the front somewhere, so it just all depends really. Okay, so let's, I didn't think this through, but maybe the bottom could be like a sweepstakes thing, such as like win a trip to, you know, a certain place. So we're gonna go ahead and do an ad for that. So let me see for my insets. Let me look for some photos that maybe I could use. So maybe that one of these hiking ones, maybe that one. Yeah, so we could add a few of these. So let's go ahead and start typing our headline here. And then maybe we could split this into like the top ad and then the lower ad. So within our back, our barcode could stay up there. That's going to be part of our bottom ad, so that could be there. And so from the headlights down to this, I could group these, and this could be top ad. And then I'm going to make a new one, and this one could be bottom ad. And I'm going to drag this rectangle in here, so that's going to be our base for our bottom ad. At this point, we could delete this one if we want, the gray, because it's no longer showing. We have all these colors behind. So our bottom ad, within there, we could start typing. So let's choose another font still. Let's try Baskerville. I just clicked once. Let's see. Try that again. I'm going to click outside of this box, see how it automatically picks that up. And I'm going to start typing in win a year-long trip discovering the most remote areas of the world. And let's go ahead and bring this down. Year long is probably hyphenated, I'm not sure. So I'm going to select everything. Let's say I want to make it all caps. I could go into my characters panel. And I could click right here to make it all caps. Let me break this down. And this one I am going to center. So I select everything, Command A, center it. And again, I'm gonna bring in my guides. I'm going to select, I'm going to create my center guide, my vertical one. So I'm going to select from this left trim mark to the right fold mark here, and then I could drag in a guide and it'll snap into the center, deselect, and then go back to my layers panel, select my headline here, and I could drag it to the right to where it snaps there. I'm gonna maybe make it a bold if we have a bold, and make it a little bit bigger, being mindful of my live guides here and here. So maybe I could put it up on 3 lines. And I'm gonna close up the leading, and I could go bigger still now that we did this. And I'm gonna open up the tracking as well. And there we go. Now maybe I want to add a background to this, so let's see what we could do just to give it some texture. So let's go to File, Open. Maybe the snow scene. I could bring that in, and we want to clip that onto just this bottom area. And let's resize it. So I want to make sure again we go all the way to our bleed. Maybe something like that. I would have liked the sky to be a little wider like this. However, I did want the lake to show, so maybe I could paint a little bit of white up here. I'm going to add a new layer right here, and then I'm going to paint it with white. So with my brush, and 10% seems pretty good. I could just lightly paint. So now if you notice it's going up above into this area, that's because this is the uppermost layer. So I want to clip this down into this rectangle that we created, and now it's only applied to pretty much this bottom half area. So that makes this more legible. And then let's see, we could put in like some fine details down here. So we could actually click on our type tool, and since that's dark, we could put it in white. So we'll stick with Baskerville, except we'll go regular white, and that's still a really fine point, maybe 6 point. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag to create a rectangle block. And let me zoom in. Okay, so this remembers what we last did. So it was going into our characters panel, and it remembers the title. So all of this is what's considered sticky. So let's go ahead and turn that off. And let's see, maybe we could do like an 8 point. So I could change it there or here as well. And this is just, let's see, select it again. Let's do left align on this one. Actually gonna select everything and then go to type. And we're just gonna do paste lorem ipsum. I don't know why it's not creating more. Maybe because, oh, it's because of my leading is way up here. So I'm gonna Command A to select everything, and I'm gonna click on auto. That way it gives us a few lines, and then I could tighten it up just a little bit. So again, go to auto. Maybe a little smaller. Maybe let's try 6. See what it does. A little too much. 8. Yeah, 8 is good. And this could be some of that fine print that is at the bottom. Usually, if you want to take your time and write out some stuff for the, for example, the rules of the sweepstakes or any of that. One thing that I'm noticing is it gets a little hard to read, so I'm going to bring this image up a little. So I'm going to select this image, and let's rename it Snow BG, and then this one's gonna be lightning, sky lightning. So let me bring this one up a little. There you go. That makes it easier to read. And another thing we could do to make this easier to read as well is gonna be click on that. It's gonna be our lorem ipsum type, so our dummy text, and we could always bump this down just so it lands like right on the baseline of that blue line. Because remember, we could push it all the way up to there. And let's go ahead and double click over here on the right over here, and let's do a drop shadow, and let's zoom in. let's go ahead and choose a dark color so I could sample from like the blue over here. That way it kind of goes along with it. We see our new color, click OK. Make sure we have multiply, and then I'm gonna make these just a little bit smaller. And click OK. So now we could turn that effect off and on, and we could see how it makes it a little easier to read still. Okay, so that would technically be your rules for that. If I'm pretty far away, it starts looking like just a black line, so I'm gonna change that effect a little bit. Maybe distance, reduce that, and maybe lower the opacity just a little bit. And there we go. A little bit, not much, and that looks way better. And so now I'm gonna create some insets here. So again, we're gonna do the same thing that we did on our car magazine cover. So I'm gonna click on shape on our rectangle tool, a fill of white, a stroke. Let's add a stroke of let's see what would go good with this. Let me start a certain blue maybe. Let's try that out. Maybe like a light blue. We'll see what works. We could always come back and change them. So I'm gonna click on that. 10 pixels is good. Okay. So now I'm gonna click and drag, and I got that made. So let's go ahead on this one. I'm gonna make it a width of, let's say, 700 by 500. Hit return, and I could put that one here. If I hold Alt or Option and I click and drag, I could drag another one. I'm gonna center this one, and I'm gonna drag another one to the right. Now, if you remember how we could align these, so if I go to layers and I select all three, first of all, let's align them at the top right here, and then let's space them evenly here. So this spaces them evenly. So now, actually, if we do Command T, the spacing is even, so we could just drag them to the right. And I'm going to bring them up here. And now I could bring in some insets, so I can name this one left. Turn it off and on just to double check. Our second one could be middle or center. And our last one's going to be right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and bring in some images so we could add to there. Let's close all these down. Let's go to File, Open. So we have 3. Let's open up that one. Open up this one. And let's open up another one. And this one. So let's bring these in, and I'm gonna put this one over, just over here, and we could place it. Let me see, this one might be a good one for the left, or actually for the middle. So I want to make it over my middle square, and then I could just hold Option or Alt and clip it to here, and then I could resize it. That's a cool shot. Let's rename that one Night Camping. Let's go ahead and bring this one in. Since this person's looking to the right, maybe we could have him, we typically would not want him on the right hand side because he'd be kind of looking out, and technically we want him looking in, so it draws us in, so he would be a good candidate for the left hand side. So let's bring left, let's type in backpacker, and let's clip them into our left square or rectangle. Again, it's Option or Alt, or you could right click and click on Create Clipping Mask. And let's go ahead and resize his image. When we clip like this, we want to make sure our image is larger than our rectangle what it's clipping into. And something like that's pretty cool. And now our last one. So we could close that one, close this one, and this works pretty well because then the deer from, or the elk from the, is going to be on the right inset and he's going to be coming in. So let's bring him in and put him over the right inset, and we're going to clip him in, double click, and we're going to name him elk. Command T, and I'm going to click and drag to resize him. Not too much. And actually, let's click on all of these. So from elk down all the way to left. And I'm going to bring this down a bit. And I want to add like a secondary text down here. So I could click on my type tool, click here, and I'm gonna write down a backpacking. Let me make this a little bit bigger so we could see. And let's change this to red. Name it a backpacking camping and photography adventure. So I'm going to select everything, and let's go back to another font. I really like the Anton font, and make this a little bit bigger. Center, I'm going to do center text, and Command T. Select it all. Let's see, be a brighter red. And if we go into our character panel, we could do a fake italic if this font doesn't have an italic, which I believe it does not. Yeah, we only have this regular. We could italicize it here. It's not real italic, but it makes it look italic. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. I forgot where we were at. 18. So that could be our add there. I'm not liking the red too much. Let's see what else we could do. So maybe we could do it in white. And let's go ahead and add a darkish glow to that, or like a drop shadow. So let's go into our layers panel. Double click on the right hand side here, and we're going to add a drop shadow. And let's change this to something not too excessive. We can drag down something like this. And there we go. So that makes it a little bit more legible. Turn that off and on. And actually for this one up here, let's select it all, and then let's choose like one of these dark blues. And there we go. Okay. So there's our, that's an exclamation point, and then we are good. Now, one thing that you notice is I have more space from here to that blue line than from here to that blue line. So I could just fake it and I could use my right arrow keys to visually center it, so this won't be mechanical centered but visually centered, and that's a little cheat that we could do. And I think that looks pretty good, you know, if you wanted to add some drop shadows here. So obviously your design is going to be different, but yeah, so here is a basic magazine structure. And let me turn off the guides. So when you save it, actually, you know what we could do right now, we could also add a click on this on our barcode now that I'm looking at it, and we could add a stroke. So let's double click on the right hand side over here on the layer and click on stroke, and let's add a white stroke just to make it look like we have more space outside. Make sure our position is outside. If you do it inside, it's going to start cropping off the numbers, and I'll show you what it looks like if our color was a different color. That's what it's doing, it's cropping it off. So we want to go outside and, you know, give it a few pixels, yeah, maybe somewhere there, 15, 20, 15. And let's change the color to white and click OK. So that way it gives us that effect. Instead of our numbers going right up to the edge and our barcode ending right there, we have that. We could also fake this by adding another rectangle behind this one. So we have other projects where I do that, but on this one we could just make it easy and do that. And there we go. That is our magazine cover, or the actually cover spread. And before you turn it in, I want you to go into the layers panel, and I want you to turn off both of these that say trim and folds, turn off, and live guides turn off. Turn those off. Command S, and then go to File, Save As. Save it as a JPEG or a TIFF, either one. I'm going to go ahead and save it as a JPEG. Click on Save, and make sure this is all the way up. Click OK. And then you could close it, close that. So let's go into our folder, and let's go into our magazine cover spread. So here we have our JPEG. So there it is, and then we have our Photoshop document. So that's our working document. If we ever need to change anything, we have that. So what you're gonna do is go ahead and turn your JPEG into Schoology, and that is that. So if you have any questions, reach out. For now, thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next tutorial.